All right, this week's question of the week comes from one of our viewers. They said, hey, how do you determine when you're rolling with somebody, especially for the first time, whether you're rolling light, is it a flow roll, are you, tournament mode? How do you make that determination? And I thought it was a great question, and it's something that we all deal with, especially when you have a new person come into your gym, or maybe like when I was in the Navy, anytime the Navy sent me TAD to another location, which is just temporary assigned duty, and say I was there for 3 days, 2 weeks, a month, I'd find a local jiu-jitsu school and, go in there and train with them. So I ended up with a lot of experience. I'm like, hey, how do I handle these first rolls? So I'm going to tell you what I do, and just realize that when I say what I do, that doesn't mean that my way is the only way it should be done and everybody else is wrong. Because I think somehow as a society we got into that. Like, it's like, oh, if you disagree with me on something, you must hate me. Or, it's like, no, we just have different views. So understand that as I tell you what I do, that you do you. Like, whatever works for you, you do you. But I'm going to tell you what I do. So what I do, like, for instance, anytime, like, I own Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu here in San Antonio, Texas. Anytime there's a visiting black belt, unless I'm injured, I'm rolling with them. I'm going to be like, hey, I will be their first roll. Not because I'm trying to establish dominance, not because I'm trying to fight for the world championship, but because I like to see, like, hey, what does this person do? So I always try to be there. I always try to roll with them. If I have a new student come in, and especially like if they're from, they have prior experience, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. Man, I want to get a roll with them, see where they're at. And when I go to visit other schools, I'm gonna go do a roll with them. The way I approach, whether it's in my school or whether I'm visiting another school, is if we're sitting, bump fist, and then I'll sit back to pull guard, and I'll allow them to take the top position. If we're standing, same thing. I'll pull guard, and every once in a while when you're pulling guard, that the guy ends up passing. Like one time I was sitting, and we bumped fist. Dude stood up and did a cartwheel to get past my guard. It surprised me, worked, and so we just started the roll. He had top side control, or sometimes they end up like, knee on belly. And the way I approach it is it's just training. Like I used to ask people like, hey, you want to roll light? We flow rolling, what are we doing? But then I realized, man, I would meet people, they'd be like, oh yeah, I got a bad arm, I got a bad back, whatever. Yeah, let's just roll light, let's roll flow or whatever. And they'd come at me like a freaking hurricane. So I stopped asking people that. I'm like, okay, let's roll. I know what I'm gonna do. And when I start at the bottom, that I can tell by what that person's doing. They get to set the tone for the intensity. It's like, man, if they're giving it their all, trying to dominate the positions, get submissions, then I know, okay, it's like, this is going to be a little bit more active role. Let's go. Or, you could tell by the way their body reacts. It's like, oh, if they're just sort of flowing, it's like, okay, well, clearly, like, we're just flowing. And my tempo, I will base my tempo and my reactions based off what they do. They come at me hard, I'll probably come at them hard back. But I'll let them dictate it, vice trying to ask them or me initiate. I'm like, no, I just see what happens. And, like sometimes, I've done that with, adult world champion black belts. And they pass my guard, tap me out. It's like, well, didn't work out so well. But the thing is it's just training for me. Like I'm 56 years old. Like I'm not caught up in trying to prove that I'm the best in the world. I do jiu-jitsu because I love jiu-jitsu, not because I'm trying to prove anything to anybody. But I know that I can start a roll against a black belt, and I can be in bottom side control, I can be in bottom knee on belly, I can be on bottom mount. And I'm pretty good at surviving and escaping. And if I don't, then it's like, okay, you tap, reset, and work from there. So that's my philosophy when I'm training with people, is I let them set the tempo, and I work from there. The exception being, like, if we're cross training and we're trying to get ready for a tournament, then I know, okay, one, we're starting standing on our feet, we're gonna work our takedowns, and we're doing tournament preps, so that's going to be a more intense roll rather than a flow roll. But when I'm just training in the gym, regardless of the belt color or whether the person's a visitor or not, I'll let them set the pace as to, like, is this going to be an intense roll or is this just a sort of a flow roll? And then I'll just base my reactions off what they're doing. And so sometimes I'll go into a roll and it's like, oh man, I end up, bottom side control, and it's like I end up spinning most of the round in the bottom side control or in bottom mount. And I'm okay with that because I'm always trying to improve my bottom side control defense and escapes. I'm always trying to improve my bottom mount defense and escapes. Or when somebody has my back, I'm always trying to improve the way I defend and my ability to escape. So if you roll with somebody in your training and they tap you, fist bump them, congratulate them, reset, go again. And the only time I worry about being tapped is when I'm doing a tournament. And I've won numerous tournaments as a black belt. I've placed in both Master Worlds and the Pan Ams as a black belt. So I don't sit there in a training session saying, oh, I got something to prove. It's like, man, if I got something to prove, I'll sign up for the Pan Ams, I'll sign up for the Master Worlds. I'm 56. I ain't like Megaton. I ain't doing the adult worlds anymore. That's for Megaton and them 20-year-olds. They can do that. I ain't doing that. But if I got something to prove, that's the format that I would go to try to prove something, not rolling, whether it's in my school, and definitely not when I'm visiting somebody. It's like I'm gonna let them set the pace, set the tone of how the roll's gonna be and how the training's gonna be, and try to always keep in mind that it's just training. It's nothing more than that. It's training. So whether you get the tap or they tap you or they keep the dominant position or you keep the dominant position, you're just training. Don't make it more than what it is. So that's my answer to this week's question of the week. Got any insights, comments, thoughts, whatever, feel free to fire below. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it's okay to disagree with each other, and it's not personal. So if you disagree with me, you can feel free to disagree with me, and it's all good. All right, till next week, ciao.